The natural world is filled with wonder, and everywhere we look, nature offers us an unlimited stream of mind-bending phenomena, from the mating calls of toxic frogs to the migratory herds of earthworms. However, while Mother Nature often gives life, there are other overwhelming forces at play whose sole purpose is to destroy. From rivers of molten lava to tsunami waves of razor-sharp ice, let's take a look at the 15 most unique natural phenomena in the world.
With us, get a good look as Miss Randy punches it up. Looking at it, you might understand why some think it's the far side of the moon.
Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Missing Files, and click the notification bell for the best daily videos. Volcanic lightning. All right, what better way to begin this earth-shattering showdown than with one of the most death metal natural phenomena of all time, volcanic lightning. Yeah, because if you thought volcanoes potentially erupting and spewing molten fire across the horizon wasn't already terrifying enough, it seems that there's also the potential of these lava giants to conjure devastating electrical storms too. Believe it or not, although it's incredibly rare, when the right conditions combine all at once, huge electrical currents can be found surging through the ash plumes of a volcanic eruption. As regular volcanic eruptions happen in huge bursts of activity, dispensing incredible amounts of ash, dust, rock, volatile gases, and lava, a massive amount of energy is gathered in a very short period of time. What sometimes follows is a mind-boggling light show, as volcanic lightning is drawn down from the heavens to join in with the earth-shattering event. Scientists have found that volcanic lightning occurs most frequently around volcanoes with large ash plumes, particularly during the active stages of an eruption, where flowing molten lava creates the largest temperature surges. Amazingly, there have been more than 150 different volcanic lightning events over the past couple of centuries, with the most memorable of them occurring in Iceland, Japan, Italy's Mount Etna, Chile's Calbuco and Chitin volcanoes, and astonishingly, it was accurately described nearly 2,000 years ago in the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Wow. Now let's get ready for today's missing topic. And while we're on the subject on devastating natural events, take a look at this eye-watering image captured by an undisclosed photojournalist several years ago that has since caused quite a stir on social media. Well, believe it or not, but on the 24th of May in 2016, more than a dozen different tornadoes were produced across the state of Kansas. At first glance, it seems that multiple tornadoes are touching down in the same area, certainly spelling destruction for anything and anyone caught in their path. However, the image, captured in Mineola, Kansas, is actually a composite photograph that documents the evolution of a single tornado. Phew, have you ever witnessed a tornado? Make sure to join the conversation below by using the hashtag #MissingTopic. On to the next one. Tornado sprouts. All right, on the topic of tornadoes, we might as well turn our gaze towards one of the most devastating and destructive forces on the seven seas. Even for the most seasoned of salty sailors, every ship captain worth their salt knows that the rare chance of a watersprout is enough to end anyone's career, and in some cases, even their life. To cut a long story short, a watersprout is a whirling column of air and water mist that fall into two categories: fair weather watersprouts and tornadic watersprouts. While the former watersprouts move very little across the surface of the ocean, tornadic watersprouts act exactly as you'd imagine them to. Essentially, they're tornadoes that form over water, or even more from land to water in rare cases, and they've exactly the same characteristics as a land tornado: destruction and devastation. These immensely powerful natural events are always associated with severe thunderstorms and are often accompanied by high winds and seas, as well as large hail and frequently dangerous lightning storms. Typically, watersprouts occur in tropical regions, mainly the Gulf of Mexico, the Great Lakes, and the Florida Keys. However, they can also form pretty much anywhere from the western coast of Europe, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Baltic Sea, as it seems nowhere is safe from the dangers of tornado watersprouts. Giant hail. Ever been caught in a hailstorm? Yeah, pretty terrible, right? Well, count yourself lucky that you've never been caught in a giant hailstorm, where the biggest, the heaviest, and the most deadliest chunks of ice rain down from the sky to cause untold devastation. While hail is a pretty everyday occurrence across almost the entire planet, imagine a melon-sized chunk of ice falling out of the sky at breathtaking speeds and punching a hole in your car windshield, because believe us, it happened. For those that didn't know, hail forms as supercooled water droplets within a thunderstorm updraft begin freezing into a nucleus of condensation. While the supercooled droplets are colder than 0 degrees Celsius, they're still in a liquid state, and as they come into contact with the growing hailstone, they freeze unto it, making it grow in the process. Usually, the process ends there, and the hail that we're used to seeing is the stuff that falls down in the subsequent form. But in some cases, it keeps growing and growing. Back in 2010, in Vivian, South Dakota, a severe supercell storm produced an intense hailstorm with stones as wide as 8 inches that weighed nearly 2 pounds each. Astonishingly, each of these hailstorms produced an impact crater of around 12 inches. What the heck? Never mind an umbrella, you'll probably need a riot shield. Bioluminescence. Okay, let's step away from the destructive forces of Mother Nature for a moment and instead take a look at the ever-growing wonder of life on Earth that blooms instead of booms. While bioluminescence may recently have been hijacked by Hollywood, Instagram, and every other trend-setting fad of social media, we can't deny the fact that this is certainly one of the most awe-inspiring and breathtaking natural phenomena in the world. Technically speaking, bioluminescence is light produced by a specific chemical reaction within a living organism, the majority of which are found in the ocean, although some organisms, such as fireflies and fungi, are also found on land. The bulk of these marine species include fish, bacteria, and jellies, and they make up the awe-inspiring displays seen throughout most coastal waters across the planet, blooming with light at certain times of the year. In the oceans, the use of bioluminescence is complicated and varied, and although scientists have determined the chemical triggers of this event, the true extent of this phenomena is yet to be fully mapped. You see, deep in the ocean, some fish will use bioluminescence as a predatory means to dangle a lure in front of their mouths to attract prey. Others, such as some species of squid, will use it to shoot out bioluminescent liquid to confuse their predators. And even more common, worms and tiny crustaceans will use it to attract their mates. Us humans primarily see the phenomena when a physical disturbance occurs, such as waves or a boat moving through a school of fish. Sure, it's beautiful, but it's also one of the most complicated behaviors in the world. Salmon crossing. Speaking of fish, why did the chum salmon cross the road? Well, it's pretty bleak actually. While the sight of migratory swarms of salmon swimming upstream may be a pretty iconic image for most of us, every year in Washington state, a baffling event occurs that results in the death of thousands of chum salmon. For most of the time, the Skokomish Valley Road in Washington is a quiet 2-lane street with the occasional car passing by. However, by November, the otherwise quiet road finds itself filled to the brim with frenzied fish, as an entire motorcade of shimmering chum salmon exit the nearby river and find themselves trapped on the asphalt. Sadly, their destination isn't even necessary, and the vast majority of the salmon who cross the road end up flopping to their deaths in the field before they're picked up by a passing raccoon or maybe a hawk. It's thought that during the November season, as the river floods its banks and salmon instinctively follow the water, even if that means they end up slap bang in the middle of the road. Sure, it's devastating phenomena to witness, but if you're a fan of sushi, hey, you gotta make the most of it, right? Ice tsunami. Never have two words struck such fear in the hearts of humankind than ice tsunami. However, thankfully for us, this insane natural phenomena isn't exactly what you might have imagined. And instead of 50 feet towering walls of frozen icy waves from the heart of the ocean surging toward us, the insane ice tsunami is contained within the safety of the Great Lakes. For most of North America, the recent winters of the Midwest and the Great Lakes of the US and Canada have been pretty darn dire. Back in 2019, after a polar vortex plunged much of the Midwest into dangerously low temperatures, a furious windstorm also pummeled eastern Canada and the United States, causing flight delays, school cancellations, and thousands of power outages. Along the shores of Lake Erie in particular, the gusts were so strong that blocks of ice surged over the lake's surface and formed walls as high as 30 feet, resulting in an awe-inspiring phenomena known as ice tsunami. These terrifying displays of winter, also known as ice shoves or aivu, are incredibly rare rare, but they've also been studied as far back as 1822. It's thought that the event is most common in springtime when the ice of winter starts to thaw, but hasn't quite melted, and furious winds blow through the area, resulting in mass movement of the frozen lake. Awesome! Penitentes. On the topic of the majesty of winter, let's turn our attention toward one of the most startling natural phenomena of South and Central America. Penitente, or Nieves Penitentes, which translates in Spanish to penitent-shaped snows, are snow formations exclusively found at incredibly high altitudes, taking the form of elongated, thin blades of hardened snow or ice, which some people believe resemble the robes and hats worn by priests throughout Spanish Holy Week. These bizarre spires are found all across glaciated and snow-covered areas of the dry Andes, the South American mountain range that soars 13,000 feet above sea level. Believe it or not, but these things were first described by the father of evolutionary science himself, Charles Darwin, way back in 1839. Although this phenomena is still intensely studied, it's believed that they're formed by the strong winds that form across the Andes, on the way from the city of Santiago de Chile to the Argentine city of Mendoza. Grunion rush. Ever heard of a grunion? Well, if you haven't, the California grunion is a small silvery fish related to smelt, and although they're pretty mundane for the most part, they just so happen to take part in one of the most unusual mating habits in nature. For anyone who enjoys moonlit walks throughout the springtime of Southern California, they're more than likely to share their beachside escapades with the grunion rush, where thousands of fish will spawn out of the water onto the sand and then slither across the beach in the magical moonlight. While it sounds pretty gross, and it is, there's no denying the fact that the grunion rush has become one of the most unique dating displays in nature. Considering the fact that their spawn is tied to the full moon pull of the tide, it results in an oddly beautiful natural phenomena, even if it is a slimy fish party. Jellyfish Lake. It's been made pretty clear to us that jellyfish are among some of the most terrifying sea creatures on Earth. One sting from the most unassuming of jellyfish species can bring immense amounts of pain. So then, when it comes to serenely beautiful natural phenomena, this Pacific saltwater lake is a bit of a head-scratcher to say the least. Located on an uninhabited rock island just off the coast of Koror in Palau, a place known as Jellyfish Lake has become somewhat of an oceanic enigma, attracting hordes of adventurers and Instagram travelers who will pay any price to get the perfect snap. Inside is one of the most condensed habitats of jellyfish on Earth that were speculated to have been trapped there over 120,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. Because of their unique environment, these jellyfish haven't evolved to grow stingers, and instead they exist like some giant, beautiful lava lamp out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The Palau jellyfish are a beautiful sight to behold, and thankfully, there's no risk of getting stung either. Mushroom fairy rings. Sure, for those of you that know better, plucking a mushroom from the earth without the proper know-how will almost always result in a pretty terrifying experience, either mentally or physically. After all, be careful what you wish for. However, when it comes to the incredibly unique natural phenomena of mushroom fairy rings, we can't state this strongly enough. Stay away, because there's some weird mystical magic certainly going on with these things. On the surface, they're innocuous enough, composed of a naturally occurring ring or arc of mushroom, mainly found in forested areas of grasslands. But in folklore, they're known as portals to dangerous and terrifying places. Commonly known in the mythologies of Europe, a fairy ring, otherwise known as a fairy circle, elf ring, or pixie ring, is inexplicably linked to foul sorcery or even the devil. However, as with any facet of folklore, in some cases they're also linked with good fortune. So hey, it's all a matter of perspective, right? Spotted Lake. Without a doubt, Canada is one of the most beautiful countries on Earth, filled with awe-inspiring landscapes and breathtaking mountain vistas that summon the ancestral memories of an ancient world. While it also is the home of some of the most beautiful bodies of water in the world, the Spotted Lake of Osoyoos, British Columbia, is certainly one of the most interesting. Throughout winter and spring, the lake located northwest of British Columbia's Okanagan Valley looks like any other body of water. However, as the summer months continue to creep in, most of the water starts to evaporate, and left behind are hundreds of huge briny pools that create the distinctive polka dot landscape of yellow, green, and blue. Believe it or not, but the colorful pools are the result of high concentrations of minerals, mainly calcium. sodium sulfate, and magnesium sulfate that have collected through the water from the runoff surrounding hills. For many, it's one of the most beautiful places in Canada, and we can see exactly why. Lava bubble. Alright, we've probably had enough of the serene and the beautiful, and we should instead turn our attention back towards the destructive natural phenomena of Mother Nature. What better way to do that than with the volcanic magmic forces found in the molten core of our own planet that spew forward from the bowels of the earth in terrifying bubbles of lava. While volcanoes are most often found in the peaks of a smoldering mountain, the rarer underwater volcanoes are the source of some of the most spectacular natural events in history. Believe it or not, but back in 1969, a 65-foot tall bubble of pure volcanic magma erupted out of the ocean, resulting in one of the most incredible geological images ever captured. On October 11, 1969, the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii, one of the most active volcanoes on Earth, formed an underwater lava dome that resembled a fiery star crashing into our planet's oceans. Astonishingly, the volcano has been in an almost constant state of eruption since 1983. Christmas Island Crab March. So if you have a fear of crabs, you should probably look away right now. While underwater crabs are pretty tame things, have you ever seen a land crab? Those things are darn terrifying. And unfortunately for us, every year on the Christmas Islands on the Indian Ocean, millions of these brightly colored alien snappers make their way across land. And one of the most incredible natural processes on Earth, an estimated 100 million of these large crabs emerge from the forest and make their way to the ocean in order to breed. The result is a bright red and endless swarm that covers roads, streams, rocks, and beaches for most of the season. The Christmas Island Crab March has become such an unstoppable force that the local authorities have been forced to build crab bridges across the territory's main highways. And it's not for the crab's sake, but the cars instead. Spinning ice disc. Back in January 2019, an event occurred on the frozen waters of Presumpscot River in Westbrook, Maine that has left scientists and weather experts scratching their heads as to how it formed. Believe it or not, but in the dead of winter, a 300-foot disc of pure ice formed in the river's frigid waters. And stranger still, it began spinning in the current to the point that it picked up colossal speeds and still remained intact. While ice discs have been spotted everywhere from Russia to Washington, the phenomena that occurred in Maine is without a doubt the largest ever recorded. It's theorized that these events occur due to the complexity of a river's currents, particularly in the melting ice of winter, where warm water becomes less dense than cooler water and it can create a vortex that causes it to rotate. As scientists have found, the warmer the water, the faster the disc spins, but no one can expect it to grow to such an astonishing size. Ijen Lake. And for our final entry into the most awe-inspiring natural phenomena on Earth, have you ever seen a bright blue acid volcano? No? Well, take a look at Lake Ijen, a volcanic lake found in East Java that happens to possess two of the most unusual occurrences on Earth. Firstly, the volcano itself emits incredibly hot and flammable sulfurous gases that ignite as they enter Earth's oxygen-rich atmosphere and burn with an intense electric blue flame. If that wasn't enough, Lake Ijen is also made up of a mile-wide caldera lake filled with turquoise blue water and is the result of its extreme acidity. If anything or anyone was unfortunate enough to fall into it, they'd certainly be doomed. That's if they can survive the electric blue volcanic lightning, of course. Well, there we have it, the 15 most unique natural phenomena in the world. What'd you guys think? Be sure to use the hashtag #MissingTopic to join in on the conversation. As always, thanks for sticking around all the way until the end. You've been watching Missing Files. See you next time.